So it's officially been 1 year since Deadlock's playtest first released, and naturally in the span of a year so many different things update and change. But maybe you're always interested but you couldn't really keep up, or you have been watching streamers and creators come back into the game, or maybe it's your first time hearing about the game. I wanted to vouch for the game while it's in its infancy because so many things that have changed and updated make me really excited for the future of what this game has. Just a quick refresher, but Deadlock is a third-person MOBA shooter, and it's set in what I would call a noir occult New York. Also note, I'm just going over what has changed since the beginning of the game to the state of the game right now. I won't go over any in-game balance or mechanics because I feel that it's constantly changing and updating, but just know that Valve is looking at these things constantly. So let's start with the most important thing to a game like this, the heroes. When Deadlock came out last year, there were only 21 different heroes. Today, we are about to get our 31st hero, and at the end of the week, our 32nd. Now there is a completely revamped character selection screen, and it really shows the personality of all these characters. Now let me briefly catch you up on these new heroes in order of when they've released. First is Mirage. Mirage is a diplomatic bodyguard of a Jinn. He has disruptive wind and sand based abilities, and he can teleport across the map. Then we have Holiday. Holiday is a sharpshooter sheriff with explosive barrows, high mobility, and a powerful lasso that she can drag enemies away with. Calico. Calico is quite literally a hired assassin, as she was the one who was hired to assassinate Pocket. She's a cat-like contract killer who weaves in and out of fights with her shadows, and she has a pet cat that she can possess, Ava. The magnificent Sinclair. Sinclair is technically a combination of two young magicians who were in love. Their souls got bound together after a tragic accident. They can summon each other and interact using abilities together. They are also the copycat of the game. Sinclair's ultimate is copying the ultimate of an enemy player. Viper. Viper is a slithery and impulsive outlaw. She traps people down and then she mows them down with her machine gun. She has a unique sliding mechanic that other characters don't have. And then of course, our 6 brand new heroes that have come out, or soon to be, from these past 2 weeks. It's been very cool because the community got to vote on the order that these characters came out by submitting tickets after a match. In order, we have Mina. Mina has her eyes set on becoming Viscount of New York. She was betrothed none other than to Pocket and his family's fortune, but she lost that chance after Pocket's failed assassination, and her parents instead contracted a vampire to grant her eternal life, hence how she became a vampire. Next, we have Billy. Billy the Goat? That's why he's the GOAT! Billy is a chaotic punk frontliner. He used illegal eldritch powers and black magic to turn his head into a goat's head. He's an anarchist and he absolutely hates everyone. The Doorman, my personal favorite so far. He looks like a very polite and tidy hotel worker, but he's actually a very sassy minor eldritch god who's here to observe humans. He opens up doorway portals and his ultimate banishes people to the Shadow Realm. Paige. Paige is a talented bibliomancer, a book mage. She can conjure the magical powers of her stories in her book to damage enemies and to support her allies. She's currently investigating the disappearance of her missing younger brother, Drifter. At the time of recording this, Drifter has just released a few hours ago. Drifter's real interesting. He's an ancient vampire with a Cajun accent.
The elders of New Amsterdam are soft, clinging to archaic titles like they grant them real power.
Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Who's been roaming around North America being a feral vampiric menace. He's got a stalker blood-hungry gameplay playstyle that I'm just learning about now. And finally, we have Victor. Victor is technically not out yet, he comes out at the end of the week, but I do know that he's a Frankenstein-inspired character. Once he comes out, I have more information on him. That was just all the heroes that recently came out, but Valve has not forgotten about the other 21 heroes. There's been various buffs and changes, but also visual upgrades. Clearly, with time, Valve is finding a foothold on a distinct aesthetic and art style for Deadlock, and they've improved the models of a lot of characters with it. Here's a brief comparison of some of my personal favorites. Abrams. Abrams has a much more demonic look to him, and his book is a lot more defined, which is good because that's a focal point of his character. McGinnis. Here's how she looked previously, and here's how she looks now. I really like her new design. It definitely pulls inspiration from the Rosie the Riveter posters back in the 40s, which makes sense because Deadlock is set in the late 40s. Ivy. Apparently, Ivy's design is something in debate right now, and I like it a lot. She looks friendlier and more stylized, kind of like a gargoyle meets a New York rat meets Walt Disney, which I feel like is kind of what her look was trying to be. Vindicta. Vindicta has a lot more of a spectral, ghastly look to her, especially with her shiny new glowing eyes. Lash. Lash actually has a face now, and it sparkles. He kind of reminds me of Major Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist. And finally, Pocket. I mentioned him a few times already, but they did this man so much justice by fixing his hair. He also loves frogs now, and you can see that in his ultimate. So, when you load into the game, you'll notice that there's no main menu anymore. Instead, we have a hideout. Instead of a generic main menu, we have a social hub. In this social hub, you can invite your friends and you guys can interact with various parts of the hideout. Here's a quick little tour. Right here, you have a desk where you can start a game. You can do bot match, sandbox, explore New York, or go into a custom match. This chimney is used to display collectibles that were obtained during events. There was a Halloween event and a winter event, so just a glimpse of what we can expect from events in this game. The replay room. And over here, we have our voting table. So it's currently out of business right now because we know Victor's the last hero and he's coming tomorrow, so there's no real reason to vote anymore. However, there are some nice touches. There's a bunch of voted stickers. There's coffee and donuts that were eaten as if people actually came by. And yeah, it's just a very neat touch. I really hope that Valve continues to do these community events because it's just very creative. And over here, we have a new training room. This is completely accessible from the hideout. You don't have to go to the practice range. By the way, the practice range is right here. You can just teleport to the sandbox. There is an enemy and an ally dummy. This machine right here turns off cooldowns. You could practice hitting souls. And we have Ava, Calico's cat. You can actually play with her using this ball. And depending on the character you are, you can also use your abilities to play with Calico. Finally, in this hallway, we have our shop. Compared to the time in the beginning of the game, the shop has gone through a massive revamp. It looks so much better. Each category has a nice tab, and every item has their own unique icon. Explanations are a lot easier to understand on what an item does, and they're categorized by tiers or their prices. The build tab is a lot more seamless too. It's a lot easier to create your own builds, put your own anecdotes, or to queue items that you want, so you don't have to really think about it when you're going back to base. Browsing builds is a lot cleaner. It's very easy to just take a build from one of the character's top players and use it in your game, and you can do that on the fly. I've been on a zip line at the beginning of the game, looking up a build real quick, adding it, and then getting right back into the game. Items are essential to a MOBA, especially a game like this. And with MOBAs, it's very easy to just get tapped out from a massive overload of information, but I think this does it pretty well. And the last thing we have is the map. The map has changed drastically since the first time, and it really has so much life to it now. On the minimap, the first thing you might notice is that there's not 4 lanes anymore, there's 3. It just feels a lot more concise this way in my opinion. I feel like Deadlock's map already is so massive, and this makes it a little easier to traverse. There's so many different points of interest, and it feels a lot more like New York. Look at this. There's so many different things that I'm finding every single time. I didn't know there was a basement here. You may hear a little tune on the map, and you'll come to this machine. It's called the Sinner's Sacrifice. Pain for gain, quite literally, because as you punch it, you lose some health, but it dispenses souls for you. And this can be pretty important to obtain. Just make sure no one hears you doing it, because then they can sneak up on you and steal it for themselves or hurt you while you're getting hurt. In the middle of the jungle of all 3 lanes, there are 2 buffs that you can obtain. You take these big fans over heavy melee. I did not time that right. Heavy melee, and you can get a buff. It's ammo, it's cooldown, it's movement, it's health. It rotates through different things, but you want to obtain this as soon as possible before the enemy team does. Also, the side shops are kind of in a basement now, and in this same area is another teleporter that you can take to the other side of the map. If you look on the minimap, you'll also notice that the underground has a little indicator of the pathways that you can take. Also, something that's very obvious that most people have probably noticed too is that the time of day has changed. On the old map, it was permanently daytime, but now it's more like a dawn. It's evening time, I think. It's just pretty to look at. and you'll see that the Guardian Angel Revive icons are loading in the sky. If you see these, that means mid-boss is active and you can slay it and then get your team the buff. They indicate that if you just slide down these stairs, you'll enter mid-boss lair. Mid-boss isn't in like a overground museum that you have to go into the basement anymore. It's like in this arena sewer. It's really cool. And the last thing we have for today is the base. The base has changed a good amount. It feels a lot more spherical, a lot more like an atrium with open space. It's a lot more dim in here and it gets pretty chaotic in here. So I'll be honest, I haven't really taken in many details because you're usually leaving this place on a zip line or you're fighting for your life if the enemy team is in here. With that said, I still think this is one of the parts of the map that is still the most in progress. Look at the patron. Yeah, get it. Yeah. And there you have it. Just a small fraction of what this game currently is, but there's going to be so much more that comes out. I just know it. But anyways, let me know what you thought about all those new heroes, or specifically what was your favorite. Mine, as you can tell, I'm playing him currently, is Doorman. If I missed anything that you were interested in, let me know in the comments and maybe I can get around to it as well. But I hope I was able to catch you guys all up on Deadlock. Peace.